All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You're tuned into the morning show with yours truly, Dex the Algo Capitalist. Oh, wow. We have made it past hump day, right? Today is Thursday, June the 13th already. Time is going by very fast. And we have some mixed feelings and emotions in the market. Bitcoin and Ethereum are acting kind of sus this morning. Bitcoin was up and now it's down $1,185. And your Ethereum futures is down $88. Gold is down $36. And silver down a buck 41 an ounce. Ouch. And as far as the stock indices, they're mixed. The Dow futures down 227, S&P futures up a quarter point, NASDAQ 100 futures up 106.5 points, and the Russell My Hustle is down almost 27 points. So a mixture. It should be added, though, that after the monstrous day yesterday with the FOMC and CPI data, and then you had some unemployment claims today that were way higher than anticipated. So it's a lot to digest. But as far as the algos are concerned, all of the stock indices now, including the Russell My Hustle, have bullish algo shifts. So the momentum has shifted from bearish in the stock market to bullish. So let that sink in for a bit. And as far as the Bitcoin futures and the Ethereum futures, they too have bullish algo shifts. So this little pullback in the market may just be a stop run to shake out weak longs. Something to think about as we are now almost to the midpoint of the trading day. Just something to consider. As far as your currencies, you have the pound sterling and the euro also with bullish algo shifts. All right, while the US dollar index has a bearish algo shift. So take no heed to the little bounces around you see. It's mostly just market noise because some of these markets are in very wide trading ranges. Others, the bull market is still in effect. It's still intact. Nothing has changed. Even though some of these have entered like a bull market corrective pattern, still in a bull market. That hasn't changed. And remember, that's the thing about trending markets. The trend can reclaim the price action at any moment. And that's just a fact of life. But the biggest moves that have come in the history of the markets, either up or down, have happened in the direction of either or the trend momentum reading or the algo shift. They've always come under one of those two auspices. Sometimes they're both locked in simultaneously, but it's always that way. Never in the opposite direction. It's never a surprise when things like this happen. The flash crash of May the 10th, 2006, of 2010, that was not a surprise. The market had already turned bearish, had a bearish algo shift. So we are anticipating that the market was going to head down. So it wasn't a surprise. Anyone who was surprised was because they didn't have access to the algos. So they didn't know what the algos were already seeing before the day even came. Yeah, before that day even hit, the algo charts was already short the market like a week prior to that. So didn't matter. And today's no different. Markets are markets are markets. Nothing's changed. And when we do the evening videos, we show you that I like to show you what's happening in the algo chart so you can get a better understanding, because just looking at a chart, trying to find patterns can be extremely misleading and oftentimes quite wrong. I'm not going to lie to you. There are times where even I am wrong in my estimation of the direction. You don't have to be right in predicting up or down. You just have to make money from it. You should be able to make money even when you're wrong, if you know how to trade. And that's why we developed over here at Pulse Wave Trading, we developed the attack reports, because the attack reports are designed that even if we are wrong, you still make money. We don't know which way the market will break. Will it break up? Will it break down? But we're prepared to catch it either way. Capiche? That's the power of knowledge. Knowledge is power. And when you have the understanding of said knowledge and the overstanding of said knowledge, you're able to do the knowledge correctly and apply the knowledge, which then elevates the knowledge to wisdom, because experience brings wisdom, right? Knowledge is knowing, knowing about, knowing of, but experience is experiencing the knowledge, which gains understanding on how to apply said knowledge and when to apply said knowledge. We're living in a day and age now that they like to call the information age. But information is neutral. Bad information can be used for good, and good information can be used in bad. Some things in life have alternative uses. For instance, a gun can take a life. That's obvious. We know that. But a gun can also save a life. Poisoning can take a life. But poison can also save a life. So information can go either way. Bad information can even turn around to be good. And good information can turn around to be bad. It depends on sometimes how you apply said information. But none of that is either here nor there. The issue is having the capacity to even receive the information so that you can parse through the data yourself and arrive at your own understanding. But see, that's being taken away from you now. Knowledge is being hidden from you, and they're building walls around it to keep you from getting to it. Instead, knowledge, general knowledge, is being replaced with propaganda, with narratives that are designed by your masters, by your overlords. They're giving you what they want you to believe, whether it's true or not. They want you to take their word for it. And what do we call that? Simply the death of truth. We're living in an age of the death of truth. They can call it an information age all they want, but in all actuality, we're witnessing the death of truth, and we're witnessing the destruction of free speech. You're no longer allowed to have an opinion that is opposite than the opinion they give you. The opinion that they give you is called the narrative. So the powers that be, the governments of the world, the corporations of the world, have just gotten together and decided that the narratives that they want you to have, they will just supply you with it. You know how the old saying goes, when I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. Well, that is the stance that your government has decided to take. When they want your opinion, they will give it to you. So they're giving you the opinion they want you to have. Now, there are different outlets for making this happen. There are different outlets for the governments of the world to get their narrative out to the people. One of those things is what we call the mainstream media. Okay. The mainstream media is the mouthpiece of the powers that be, whether they be political powers, governmental powers, or corporate powers, or shadowy powers. They're still powers. And so they used corporate media to push those agendas, to push certain narratives, to propagandize its population. And anything outside of the established, approved narrative is not tolerated, nor is it allowed. So what do? They demonize any and every alternative and counterpoint to the established narrative. They put labels out and say that anyone who is speaking against the said established narrative is automatically considered a terrorist, a tinfoil hat person, a conspiracy theorist, a nut, a psychopath, an idiot, someone whom you should not engage. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, day by day, it is becoming more and more difficult and a lot more risky to provide information that differs from the official narratives. Websites are finding that payment mechanisms such as PayPal and Stripe and banks refuse to process donations to their sites. Others, such as VDare, are being driven into bankruptcy by quota hire New York prosecutors. Alex Jones' operation is again under assault. Tucker Carlson was driven from Fox News. Google increasingly hides unwelcome information. And now Facebook has changed their guidelines in order for you to go live on Facebook. So they've created some bureaucracy and hurdles for you to jump through. The platform for the people, of the people, by the people is no longer the case. And now we witness a former U.S. Marine intelligence officer and UN weapons inspector pulled off an international flight as his passport stolen by police on orders by the U.S. Department of State. Scott Ritter was on his way to Russia to speak at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. Ritter is an active source of what the conflict in Ukraine is really about and how it is widening into a wider and more dangerous conflict. Being yanked off a flight and his passport taken is the Biden regime's way of sending him a message to get on board with the narrative. Note that the State Department's orders to the police are unconstitutional and probably illegal. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution protects freedom of speech, press, and assembly, and the Fourth Amendment prevents unreasonable searches and seizures. It's become a hallmark of the U.S. government to act as it pleases, regardless of the U.S. Constitution. The Constitution stands as a barrier to weaponized law. Therefore, the Constitution is ignored. In today's America, coercion rules not only from government, but also from corporation, universities, public schools, media, foundations such as Clooney's, which has undertaken the suppression of those who provide truthful accounts on the Russian front. Use the wrong pronoun, refuse to take the COVID vax, promote too many white people, and your employer fires you. Universities and public schools are anti-white indoctrination centers. Parents who complain at school board meetings about their kids being taught that they are racist and born into the wrong body are put on FBI watch lists. Trump supporters who attended a rally are imprisoned as insurrectionists. The media protects official lies by demonizing truth tellers. Attorneys are becoming afraid to defend a demonized defendant. The message has been delivered loud and clear that a person depends on his support for the official narratives. Where speaking the truth is beginning to be criminalized. It is certainly the case that telling the truth and providing analysis based on facts is no way to make a living. Indeed, it marginalizes you. And who wants to live like that? Justice disappeared from the United States. No defendant, innocent or guilty, believes it is possible to be tried fairly in an American court. This is why 97% of defendants self-incriminate with a plea bargain to avoid the severe risk of jail. Jurors no longer comprehend that their function is to protect law as a shield of the people, not to validate its use as a weapon in the hands of the state. That President Trump is facing 4 criminal indictments and 4 civil trials simultaneously is proof that no American is safe and that they have indeed weaponized the judicial system and the criminal justice system against the American people. Ladies and gentlemen, this is outrageous. Stand up and take notice. Now, how are they doing this? Well, think about it. Today, they come for Alex Jones. Tomorrow, they come for all of us. Okay? That's right. Alex Jones is currently on the hook for $150 million, which would bankrupt all but the top 1% of the 1% elite. Now, if we dig into some of these ridiculous lawsuits against Alex Jones and InfoWars, it doesn't make any sense. He claimed on multiple occasions that the 2012 Sandy Hook school shooting didn't happen. He also posted the alternative theory that it did happen, but was a false flag. Now, there was a book written about it that has been like scrubbed from the internet that broke it down. This book, this PDF book, was absolutely amazing. And it had everything broken down, pictures, news articles. I mean, it had everything you could think of. It was incredible. And the mainstream media made sure that you didn't hear about it. Now, to be sure, there were lots of strange goings on surrounding the case and the shooter. For instance, even mainstream outlets reported that the FBI and CIA visited the shooter Adam Lanza's house, discussed his fascination with mass shootings with agents who then declined to take further action. In 2014, 2 years after the Sandy Hook massacre, one of the deceased victims' photographs appeared on a poster at a vigil for a Pakistan school massacre, ostensibly indicating him as a victim there as well. Remember the whole crisis actor thing that was exposed? One day after the shooting, a parent of a murdered child appeared on camera at a press conference, laughing and smiling before taking a deep breath and assuming a more businesslike, somber tone to deliver his remarks. The rapid change in demeanor is startling and not at all what one would expect of a grieving father. And as a grieving father who actually did lose a child, I lost a son right after his 3rd birthday. I'm sure you guys heard me tell you this story before. My wife and I were inconsolable. A lot of what happened surrounding that time has been erased and blacked out of my memory. I can't remember. My wife and kids tell me things from that time, and I have no recollection of it whatsoever. I can't even tell you everyone who came to the funeral because I don't remember. I just know that we had to go through all the stages of grief And it did take a year to even become conscious again. I was unconscious for a year. All right. So there's no way in the world I would have been on camera laughing and smiling. I don't think I don't think we laughed until well after a year afterwards. There was no laughter. It took everything in our power to not off ourselves, unalive ourselves. It was nothing but the grace of God that got us through that. It was the worst thing I can ever imagine going through. I wouldn't wish it on a worse enemy. I see why so many divorces happen after the death of a child. I see why so many parents off themselves after the death of a child. It's unimaginable pain that you cannot imagine. If you've never lost a child, you have no idea what it's like. And to lose a child, meaning that you don't even know what happened to them, they're missing to this day, that's a different level of pain because you have no closure. So for those that, have children missing and they have never been found, that's a different pain because there's no closure. So your pain is ongoing. Your mental anguish is ongoing. But the death of a child, that's a finality. And that's a different type of devastation. So there's no way in the world you would see my wife and I laughing, being interviewed on camera. We were inconsolable. I just told you, I think I blacked out for a year. There are things I do not even remember regarding that time frame. I only have certain flashes and memories, but that's it. So to laugh, I was not even a functional human being for a year. Laughing, I don't even know what that was back then. What's that? And yet these people were caught on camera laughing. How could they even speak? It's one thing to lose a child to an accident or, a medical illness, like the poor children who are in the hospital, the leukemia kids. Breaks my heart to see that. I cannot imagine a parent who just lost a child that way to be able to then say, "Ma'am, I know you just lost your child like 5 seconds ago, but can we interview you real quick?" And then she breaks out laughing. I don't see that happening. Sorry, that's not going to happen. But to have your child perish due to violence, that's a whole nother level of devastating pain. Because we lost our child due to, medical illness, complications, right? But what about the parents who lose a child due to violence, like gang violence, gun violence, knife violence, you name it, violence? That's a different level of pain because you're like, this could have been prevented and avoided. If only I had if only this, if only that. So that's a different level of pain. I'm sure one of those parents, their kid probably told them that day, "I don't feel well. I don't want to go to school." And the parent made them go anyway. And unfortunately, they're one of the victims of the mass shooting. The parent would never forgive themselves. "I should have listened to my child. Why didn't I listen and let them stay home?" You have no idea. Just even talking about this is bringing tears to my eyes. You have no idea. But there are many more anomalies not included about what happened that day. While none of these curiosities alone or in combination proves government collusion, they certainly warrant further scrutiny, and they're fair game to examine with a skeptical eye, and that's what Alex Jones did. Now, per the prosecuting's theory in the ongoing civil lawsuits, the parents of the Sandy Hook kids got harassed, allegedly due to Jones' skepticism. which caused them unquantifiable emotional distress. Now their lawyers want to get paid $150 million in compensation. 33 and a third percent of that goes to the lawyers. And the corporate media is practically orgasming on air. Nothing excites them more than shutting down their populist, more popular competition. Trust in legacy media among the public has plummeted to 36%, which is a record low, likely an overestimate. CNN plus the platform intended to rival online media failed just 3 weeks into its launch. That's right, CNN plus, it failed. Even after CNN's parent company dumped $300 million into the project. The only way they can survive is to use the state's legal fiat to muzzle their competition. Jones never once said the purported Sandy Hook victims' names on the air, which using common sense would seem to be a baseline element of any defamation case, although U.S. law doesn't always follow that standard. Furthermore, lots of web-based media figures claim Sandy Hook didn't happen in the way it was portrayed. Lots of members of the general public are unhinged, independent of media influences. Lots of people get harassed online every day. The idea that Jones's denial, questioning of Sandy Hook through a labyrinth of cause and effect through proxies ultimately resulted in emotional trauma for parents is, to put it mildly, a stretch. Some might call it implausible. The evidence presented is an extremely loose causal chain of events, one which a jury likely wouldn't buy if the decisions were left to them. Hence the default judgment and straight to damages. In a break from the Constitution, Alex Jones never got a jury trial to decide his guilt in this matter. Judges instead unilaterally issued a default judgment of guilt. But what about the Seventh Amendment? In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by juror shall be preserved. That's right. The right to a jury trial, as indicated, extends even further back in time than the founding of the nation to British common law. That's how far fundamental rights have been eroded. Legally, we're getting dragged back into the feudal era. To emphasize, the current jury proceedings are not to determine guilt. The state already decided that for them. The jury's only job now is to decide how much Jones owes based on his predetermined guilt. But what about guilty until proven innocent? No, that's been changed to guilty until proven bankrupt. The public brazen display of extra constitutional power is the point of the exercise. The state wants to demonstrate that it no longer remotely constrained by the Constitution when it prosecutes its enemies. To the social engineers bent on mass censorship, Alex Jones is the juiciest target possible. He's bombastic, he's flamboyant. He often comes off, frankly, as an unhinged lunatic. That's his brand. Jones's demeanor assists the corporate state in demonizing and framing him as a unique danger. But for all his theatrics, Jones has been prescient about a lot of things, from blowing the whistle back in the day on warrant-free mass-scale NSA spying way before the Snowden leaks, to toxic water causing chemical castration, to the mRNA vaccine fraud back in 2020 when they were still in development. On many of the foremost issues of interest to libertarians and dissidents more broadly, Jones has been the quintessential canary in the coal mine. The insight he offers from his independent platform, which can't be co-opted or controlled, is why the state and the media it controls hates him. His current legal persecution is retribution for not towing the line. The empire strikes back. You see, Alex Jones is the bellwether. Whatever happens to him will subsequently befall a broader swathe of the anti-establishment press. In 2018, Alex Jones was the first target of mass social media censorship when he was deplatformed from every major social media network overnight. In justification, he was framed as the exception to free speech, so beyond the pale as to warrant extraordinary measures to silence his dangerous voice. Now, I want you to think about this. This happened overnight. Every major social media platform in unison did this. You can't get multiple companies in a boardroom to agree on what to have for lunch. How in the world was this possible to weaponize the government against one man like this? And the people did nothing. They were clapping and applauding it. That's right, we hate him. The mere idea of a national debate in corporate media regarding the censorship of far right media figures in 2022 is inconceivable. They wouldn't do it during these past 4 years of the pre and post pandemic. It's now just accepted as standard operating procedure. Of course, Jones' banning was merely a taste of things to come. In the aftermath, scores of other less notorious subversive figures got the boot. The precedent is set. Watch default judgments for independent media outlets that do the wrong kind of reporting become the new normal. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to do something about it, because if you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have anything else. If you can't speak your mind, if you cannot have an opinion that goes against the narrative, then you are not free. You are not free. That's right. What really happened? I'm going to tell you what really happened. This is like the liquidation of alternative media voices. We have a corporate state lawfare, and the anti-InfoWars jihad has come to its conclusion. Now they call him a conspiracy theorist. Alex Jones, a conspiracy theorist. And he's seeking court permission to convert his personal bankruptcy reorganization to a liquidation, which would lead to a sell-off of a large portion of his assets to help pay some of the $1.5 billion he owes relatives of victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. Get out of line, they'll just sick the IRS on you, and the legal system, and the judicial system. The establishment has multiple systems, multiple tentacles of which to sting you with. Jones and his media company, Free Speech Systems, both filed for bankruptcy reorganization after the Sandy Hook families won lawsuits against him for his repeatedly calling the 2012 shooting that killed 20 first graders and 6 educators in Newton, Connecticut, a hoax on his InfoWars program. So just because he said something now you're liable? What happened to freedom of speech? I don't care if he said he believes that the Easter Bunny is the real president of the United States of America. We all know that's not true, but so what? He's not hurting anyone. To say that you were hurt by someone else's speech, come on, really, folks? Whatever happened to sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. You see, but Jones and the Sandy Hook families have been unable to agree on how to resolve the case, leading to Jones filing a motion in the U.S. bankruptcy court in Houston, asking a judge to convert his personal case from a Chapter 11 reorganization to a Chapter 7 liquidation. Now, Christopher Maddie, a lawyer for the family, said in a statement that Alex Jones has hurt so many people. He hasn't hurt nobody. He didn't do anything. He just gave his opinion. The Connecticut families have fought for years to hold him responsible, no matter the cost and the great personal peril. Their steadfast focus on meaningful accountability and not just money is what has now brought him to the brink of justice in the way that matters most. The Sandy Hook families, meanwhile, are asking the same judge to convert Free Speech Systems case from a reorganization to a liquidation. Liquidation could mean that Jones would have to sell most of what he owns, including his company and its assets, but could keep his home and other personal belongings that are exempt from bankruptcy liquidation. Proceeds would go to his creditors, including the Sandy Hook families. The $1.5 billion settlement for claiming an event didn't happen the way it is popularly believed to have happened was always absurd and had nothing at all to do with justice delivered to the families who lost their kids in Sandy Hook, and everything to do with silencing a voice long a thorn in the side of the establishment, which the lawyer essentially concedes in the above about the ruling not just being about money, lawfare waged via a weaponized legal system. Please miss me with the comments about how Alex Jones is an unhinged, pseudo-evangelical lunatic with a drinking problem or whatever. You see, the vast majority of Alex Jones haters, in fact, have never listened to a single hour of his broadcasts or watched not 1 minute of his many documentaries. Their negative impression of him comes entirely secondhand from 10-second clips and the nonstop orchestrated bleeding of hostile corporate media. A consensus-forming propaganda campaign of arguably unprecedented scale targeted at a single individual in the 21st century. I'm telling you guys, this is not good. It's not good. They want to destroy free speech. And that's not all they're after. We got to continue to keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on here, because a lot is happening. And what this really boils down to is the death of truth. You're witnessing the death of truth. People don't care about truth. People aren't searching for truth. Therefore, they have no willingness to defend truth. And that is the problem in and of itself. All right, folks, I appreciate you tuning in. You know the system works if you work the system. Bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And on that note, smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share the content. And you know what? I'm out. Peace.